In this video, we're going to create the sound for our hero's main weapon. Now it's kind of hard to tell if this is a conventional weapon or some kind of laser, so we could probably go either way. But we're going to go ahead and create a laser sound. One classic way that laser sounds are created is by using metal wires or slinkies. And you can manipulate these with your hands, or even try hitting them with something like a hammer. Here you can see I've got a mic set up in the studio, and I'm going to record a slinky to get the raw elements for our laser. Okay, so let's go check out the results in Pro Tools. So here you can see I've already created a session and imported the slinky recording onto an audio track. So let's take a listen to what we've got. But before we do, I'm going to go ahead and use the Pro Tools clip gain feature to add some gain to the recording. Let's go ahead and select one of these slinky impacts to use for our laser. And I think the first one will work pretty well. Now go ahead and trim that down. And let's listen to it one more time. So the first thing we're going to do is zoom in and clean this up a little bit. So let's listen to it again. So this definitely needs some EQ. So I'm going to go ahead and open the standard EQ3 7-band that comes with Pro Tools. And the first thing we need is a high pass to get rid of some of that low-end garbage that you're hearing. So I'll go ahead and turn it on and set the Q to be as steep as possible. And then I'll adjust the frequency up to a couple of hundred hertz. And as you can hear, that takes away a lot of the thump and low-end rumble. The next thing I want to do is boost the highs with the high shelf to add a little shimmer. So I'll go ahead and set it to about 5K and boost the gain by a few dB. And then I'm going to boost 1K by a few dB to bring out some more of the mid-range detail. Okay, that sounds pretty good, so let's close out the EQ. Now I'm noticing there's a lot of metal jingle on the end of this, so I'm going to go ahead and trim it a little bit shorter. Okay, so let's go ahead and bring in our gameplay capture movie to check out the timing on the weapon's fire rate. So I'll go ahead and drag and drop the movie into the tracks list. And the default video import options are fine, so we'll just go ahead and click OK. So next I need to find a section where the weapon is shooting and use markers to figure out the fire rate. Okay, so now I'm going to nudge through the movie with my nudge value set to 1 frame. And I'm going to mark some individual shots so that we can figure out the fire rate of the weapon. Okay, so let's go ahead and zoom in and see what that rate looks like. So the shots seem to be about 3 frames apart, and they may not fit exactly into frames, so we'll go ahead and use that as an estimate. The weapon's firing fast enough that as long as we're close to the fire rate, we should be okay. So let's go ahead and zoom back out and test our sound with this timing. So I'll go ahead and cut the sound, click on the first marker, and paste it in. Then I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this track because we'll need to overlap this sound a bunch of times. So I'm going to right-click the track, choose Duplicate, and create 10 duplicates. Now I'm going to go ahead and move all of these clips 3 frames apart. Okay, so let's check out how that sounds against the picture. So that sounds pretty good, and the timing looks good too. So let's go ahead and bounce this to a track so we can create our loop. First, I'll make a new audio track. Then I'm going to bring up my I/O setup view and route all of these tracks to the new record track. And now I'm ready to record. And let's listen to the result just to make sure it sounds okay. So that's sounding pretty good. Let's go ahead and make a loop out of this. One really easy way to loop something like this is to use tab to transient. With tab to transient enabled, I can simply drop the selector in the clip and tab to land exactly on the attack of each shot. I'm going to skip past the first few and then trim away the head of the clip. Then I'm going to tab up to the last shot and trim the tail. With any luck, this should be a smoothly looping clip. And that loop sounds fine, so now we're ready to bounce it out. I'm going to go ahead and create a new master fader. Insert an ultra maximizer. I'm just going to bring the ceiling down to -0.1 and then adjust the threshold so I'm just getting a little bit of attenuation. And that looks pretty good. Now let's go ahead and add our dither. And once we make sure that's set to 16-bit, we're ready to bounce. And the bounce dialog kept my last use setting, so I don't even need to make any adjustments. But I do want to go ahead and make sure that I name the bounce file correctly. Weapon player.01. And I'll make sure that goes to the correct destination. And now we're ready to bounce. So let's flip back over to Unity and check it out. Okay, so we're back in our Unity project, and I've already located the weapon player placeholder inside the weapons folder. So I'll go ahead and right-click that and select Reveal in Finder. Then I'll copy our exported sound into that same directory. And I'll click the Replace button to go ahead and replace the existing sound. Now if we click back into Unity, we should be able to select the sound and preview it in the inspector. You can even turn on the loop feature in the inspector to hear how it loops. So let's go ahead and play the game and see how it's working. The timing is definitely working well with the weapon's fire rate, so let's go ahead and move on to our next sound.